Hey, what's up, YouTube? I got an unintended comment from somebody, and I will actually pull up his name right now. Odinata. And he is commenting on my "Why are we not all stewards for our values?" or, whatever you want to call it. Title's kind of awkward for that one. And he was making a couple points, some disingenuous comments, basically trolling a little bit, and got to the point of saying that, I value violence, I'm a steward of violence. Okay. I'm not going to say he's wrong for coming to that conclusion just from what he saw in the video, because he doesn't really know me. He knows whatever you're seeing, which is not me, and nor is it any solid representation for what I really am in reality. I think that I at least hope that I'm a little more complex than what you're seeing in a couple of videos that I've posted. I'm going to tell you a little story, so it's a little story time here. I was about 10 years old, and I was sitting at home with my parents, my mom on my right, my sister to my left, and my dad in his favorite armchair. It's not like an American Dream thing, or how it whatever. It was after dinner, and I remember it was during Jeopardy. I remember this very clearly because of how important that moment was as far as my direction in life regarding self-defense and personal responsibility. Like I mentioned, I was 10. We were watching Jeopardy. It was about 7 o'clock at that time, Pacific Coast. I live in Southern California. You got the idea. And I distinctly remember hearing a faint to my ears, but I knew that for me to hear it, it must have been really loud, a scream. And I told my mom and my dad, because we were pretty intent on watching Jeopardy growing up. We all really enjoyed Jeopardy. And so, we didn't want to stop watching the program to figure out what it was. And I think that most of them didn't believe me. I have a pretty good sense of hearing, and I think that none of them else heard what I heard. So towards the end of the show, we started seeing flashing lights, in our peripheral vision out of the TV room coming from the front windows of the house. And there were lights from police cars. Well, we all got up and we kind of went to the windows. My dad went outside, and it was all my neighbors kind of outside. So we all ended up going outside. Now, let me explain to something about my neighborhood. I grew up in a cul-de-sac, which is one of those U-turn streets, and there was, probably less than 10 houses in that cul-de-sac, and the kids all grew up together. I was one of the older kids. And we knew each other. The time we spent together, was a lot. Summers together. We had a pool. We had people in our pool all the time. Parties, whatever, fun, stuff. And so what I saw was the police officers at the neighbor's house across the street, and there was an ambulance there too. And they were tending to the wife of my neighbor across the street. She's a Japanese woman, not very tall, not very big in stature, and she had this pack of ice on her face. And when we saw her later, she had this massive black eye. So what happened, as was retold to us by her, was she was feeding her son in the kitchen of their house. There was a little table in there, and the youngest child was there eating dinner, and she was tending to something, either washing the dishes or whatnot. And somebody who we don't know, we've never seen them again, basically climbed in through the window, used a ladder to climb through the window, and beat the crap out of her. Beat her all over her body and hit her in the face. And he did that for the purpose of, shocking her, and then proceeded to have her, forced her to show him where all the jewelry was in the house, or valuables, whatever. And he took what he could, and then he took off. That totally changed my opinion of self-defense at that moment. You're talking about something that happened in the matter of 1, 2, 3 minutes. And the guy was gone. And nobody ever caught him. He ran away, jumped over the fence, and was gone. We never saw him again. If you knew where I was from, it's a densely packed suburban area where everybody kind of knew everybody, and the crime rate in the area was extremely low. Now, since then, I've lived in less desirable areas with higher crime rate as I was younger and didn't have as much money, and now where I live is actually has an even less crime rate than where I lived in my first house with my parents. But for that reason, I always have a weapon, and I carry or have on me in my house the most efficient weapon for getting the job done, which is self-defense, which is the preservation of my life and the life of my loved ones. You can take my property, you can walk out the door with it. That's fine, but it's part of the reason why I take my wife to the range, and that's why she shoots, and that's why she's competent, and that's why we talk about these things. It's not because I enjoy violence. It's the opposite of that. It's that I understand that violence can happen in a moment, in a minute. An act can be brought upon you, have devastating consequences, and change your life forever, forever, in the span of less than 2 minutes, and less time it would take for you to make a 911 call, talk to the dispatcher, and have the police on their way to your house. You could be dead. Your family could be dead. You just don't know. You don't know, and it doesn't matter where you live. It's never mattered where you've lived. In fact, the places that have a look of being a decent neighborhood get hit a lot. It happens, man. And even if it doesn't happen a lot, even if it's never happened before, even if you've lived in the neighborhood of 10 people that there's never been a crime in 3 generations, it only takes once for that to change forever. And you don't want to be that one house that they hit. You don't want to be that place where the danger comes to you and your life is forever changed. This is a $300 handgun, and the ammunition for it is $20 for 50 rounds. And you should probably spend $200 or more to go get training and learn how to shoot it and make it a part of your life. And you'll enjoy it because it's fun. It is actually fun. But the point of it is that you're responsible. Even if you choose not to make that decision, not to buy the gun, not to make it a part of your life, not to respect it, not to learn to use it, not to pay the money to be better at it, not to take the choice in your head, make that moral decision to take a life or shoot somebody. If you're not ready to do all that, you've still taken responsibility for your self-defense. Your responsibility is that you've skirted it and you're letting someone else take control. You're letting someone else take control of the situation. Because you've decided you're not going to play a hand in that game. Which is fine. That's your decision. Yeah, and so the song by Rush, Free Will. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. That's what it comes to personal self-defense and personal responsibility. You haven't decided you're not going to believe in self-defense. By calling the police officers, you have not made a plan. You've chosen not to decide. Which means you've put the responsibility in the hands of another person. I hope to God that the person you put your responsibility into is not the person that's trying to rip you off, hurt you, kill you, or do anything bad to your family. So if you want to call it a nuanced point of I am a steward of violence, that's fine. If you'd like to understand reality, then, talk to people who have actually been touched by violence and have seen it. My neighbor's lucky, very lucky, because most people don't get off that easy. I know that I don't ever want that to happen to me or my family, and I want to have some card to play. So, that's it, guys. Take it easy.